25 days was not abstract when you divided it into node windows and demonstration strokes, and the ordinary Tuesday rhythm of coursework that still had to look sincere. Nova made sincerity operational. Week 32 opened with the map pinned to annex wall in 3 overlapping layers, because one layer had stopped being enough when 77 confirmed nodes still left 70 to find, and the enemy timeline did not care whether Academy maintenance schedules cooperated. Caden arrived before dawn with metal sleeve readings from chapel subfloor and craft hall kiln relay, and the old observatory stairwell where Charter-era masons had hidden foundational work behind decorative iron that nobody inspected because decorative. Iron was assumed to be decorative. Assumption was leverage. Leverage was not cruelty. Leverage was grammar. Nova read each sleeve annotation with the same attention she gave board answer trees, because both were forms of reading hostile systems for the fault lines that let honest work survive inside them. Torrin arrived at second bell with chronology packet on Western Dormitory Foundation and Scholars Residence East Basement and the Administration North Facade plate that Audit Liaison had visited twice without finding anything because the plate was real. Certification work layered over real anchor substrate in the way institutions built legitimacy and control into the same wall. He said, "Week 32 is our acceleration window." She said, "How aggressive?" He said, "As aggressive as Len's observer reports allow without giving him language for unauthorized survey." Unauthorized survey was the phrase Len wanted. Nova had seen it drafted in preliminary session subtext when his pen moved faster on certain questions. Questions were traps dressed as scholarship. Scholarship was still a weapon if wielded precisely. They spent Monday mapping acceleration schedule against surveillance likelihood Caden had updated Sunday night. Daylight reads on low-risk buildings with maintenance cover. Night reads on high-risk buildings near board chamber and faculty council offices and demonstration hall approaches, where observer rotation had tightened since week 2 preliminary session. Pren contributed burst intelligence from East Wing channels. More than registry cross-match delayed again, not cancelled, which meant pressure remained ambient rather than acute. Ambient pressure was preferable. Acute pressure burned windows. Sierra contributed political red on provincial facilities beyond academy walls, early thinking only. Names of Charter-era hospitals and bridge maintenance depots that Torrin's chronology suggested might host nodes if the network extended beyond campus the way enemy protocol architecture implied it must. If was still the most expensive word in operational map. Tuesday node 78 confirmed an archive sub-basement access Torrin had flagged since year 2 and only now reached because board review paradox had increased repair legitimacy across campus. 78. Wednesday node 79 in chapel subfloor during order drill overlap Caden scheduled with the transparent honesty of a liaison doing his job while doing another job underneath it. 79. Thursday demonstration prep began in earnest because 22 days remaining was no longer comfortable margin and rank 6 work could not be improvised from rank 5 habits no matter how thoroughly she had been living above public ceiling in private. Public ceiling was standing. Private ceiling was war. Demonstration had to satisfy both without splitting her in half in front of board examiners who would be looking for split whether Len coached them or not. Torrin and Nova worked in library annex with doors closed and 3 answer trees expanded into demonstration logic. Not performance. Proof. Proof that Cipher notation complied with historical equivalency clause by producing effects approved framework could produce at lower cost and greater adaptability without violating stability standards Len would invoke until someone made him stop invoking them with better mathematics. Better mathematics existed. Kira's proof existed. Nova could not deploy proof in demonstration chamber without handing Len a separate war front. Demonstration would be notation, not indictment. Indictment could wait until standing improved. Caden watched from third desk without speaking for first hour, then said, "You're writing it like apology." She looked up. He said, "Don't." She said, "It's not apology." He said, "It reads like you're asking permission for your own grammar." He was right. Right was irritating when it arrived without cushioning. She revised opening sequence to lead with structural equivalence rather than defensive preamble. Revision felt like removing armor that had kept her alive in year 1 and year 2 and most of year 3. Armor and standing were not identical. Standing required visibility. Visibility required work that did not flinch when observed. Friday Node 80 in Western Dormitory Foundation during rain maintenance that made honest noise cover honest read. 80. Pace visible on internal map. Pace invisible on public face. Invisible still cost calories. Saturday strategy session added demonstration rehearsal timeline. Monday stroke practice in garden annex with maintenance cover. Wednesday full sequence in empty lecture hall booked through Torrens research allocation. Friday final polish before board week 3 observer intensification. Theo visit remained 17 days out on Saturday count, then 16 on Sunday. Filed in family column separate from war column and not separate from risk column because Len linking family teaching to petition would be exactly the kind of procedural capture he preferred. Preferred because it avoided direct confrontation until direct confrontation became unavoidable. Nova understood the preference. She shared it in reverse. Garden session would happen inside bounds. Bounds held. Sunday week 32 closed with 80 nodes confirmed and demonstration skeleton drafted and 22 days remaining and Theo visit 16 days out and Southern cluster, still extrapolation only because travel permission remained unavailable and more than. Territory density suggested the densest cluster would not be mappable from Academy before board review ended unless something changed in permission landscape. Something changing was not plan. Plan was nodes reachable under current constraints. Constraints were runway. Runway depleted whether spent well or not. Monday week 33 opened with node 81 in Scholars Residence East basement during attaché consumption at Training Yard Decoy. 81. Board week 3 notice arrived at noon. Observer questions permitted. Continuity appendix follow-up required. Demonstration methodology overview requested in writing 48 hours before public session. Requested in writing was Len's preference for traps with paper trail. Nova and Torin drafted methodology overview with surgical care, describing self-modifying characteristics as adaptive stability feature rather than deviation, citing historical equivalency precedents that were real if obscure, omitting zero-day vocabulary and anchor map and enemy protocol, and every other word that would convert recognition hearing into security hearing. Security hearing was what Len wanted. Recognition hearing was what she needed. Tuesday demonstration stroke practice in garden annex at 6th bell with honest maintenance noise and Caden on perimeter pretending to review certification manual. Strokes held. Adaptive sequence responded to her own mana shifts with clean recalibration. Clean was not easy. Easy was not the metric. Rank 6 prep required output that read as inevitable rather than strained. Inevitable was what board needed to see. Wednesday node 82 in administration north facade substrate during faculty council session that pulled observer attention east while Nova and Torin worked west. 82. Thursday methodology overview submitted. Friday board week 3 observer session. Len asked whether adaptive notation had been taught to any students outside mentorship logs. Nova answered with jurisdiction reminder and offer to demonstrate methodology publicly. Len asked whether family members had received instruction in Cipher grammar. Room temperature shifted 1 degree. Nova said, "My brother competes in approved regional inscription programs under supervised school instruction. Family correspondence is not board jurisdiction." True. Incomplete. Incomplete was fighting. Len smiled professionally. Session ended without ruling. Ruling not required yet. Survival required. Survived. Saturday brought updated surveillance map from Caden. Observer rotation now included inscription garden paths during daylight hours. Garden midnight session risk revised upward. Theo visit 11 days out. Nova did not cancel. Cancellation handed Len a different story. Story management was exhausting. Exhaustion routed into work. Sunday node 83 in library main hall certification desk review substrate during open hours with Pren providing cover conversation at desk above. 83. 20 days to demonstration. 11 days to Theo. Nova stood at dormitory window with demonstration draft in one hand and anchor overlay in other, and thought about the strange overlap of timelines converging on the same body with different demands. Demonstration demanded visibility. Theo demanded honesty within bounds. Node map demanded invisibility. 3 demands could not all be maximized simultaneously. Optimization was her native skill. Optimization under constraint was the only kind that mattered. She returned to Annex and revised demonstration sequence again, removing the last apologetic stroke Torin had flagged and one flourish that was beautiful but unreadable to examiners trained on approved framework aesthetics. Beauty mattered. Readable beauty mattered more when Len controlled the glossary. Evening brought letter from Rian without operational cipher fold, unusual enough to note. Inside, 2 lines in his hand, Theo confirmed travel dates. Ward holding. He is excited. Do not let him perform for you. Do not let him perform for you is father grammar for I know my son, and I know what you are carrying. Nova folded letter into inner pocket and felt the weight of family node beside war node and did not try to separate them because separation had never been honest in this house. Monday week 34 would bring board week 4 pressure and 84th node window and 10 days to demonstration and 8 days to Theo, and the acceleration phase would either produce enough standing for rank 6 proof or produce enough visibility for Len to narrow the trap. Both outcomes were information. Information was still runway if you used it before it spoiled. She wrote in the notebook at midnight, week 32 through 34 opening. Nodes 83. Demonstration prep active, stroke practice, methodology overview submitted, apologetic grammar removed. Board week 3 observer session survived, Len family instruction question deflected. Surveillance includes garden daylight paths. Theo visit 8 days. 20 days to demonstration. Southern cluster still unreachable. Acceleration window holding. She closed notebook and returned to demonstration draft with cadence correction, still in margin, and Torin's chronology still on wall, and 83 nodes glowing on overlay, like small honest fires in a map that would eventually need to show 147. Or the enemy timeline would show them instead. 20 days enough if waste stopped. Waste was fear dressed as perfectionism, and perfectionism routed into the next stroke. Into standing she could not afford to lose before the chamber filled with examiners and Len, and the precedent he had not yet deployed but surely would. She practiced until second bell, attempted sleep, and let war continue in margins that were still hers for now. Board week 4 was when observer grammar stopped pretending to be neutral and began arranging the room so that neutrality became the only legally safe position for anyone who did not already know what they were looking at. Nova knew what she was looking at. Week 34 opened with Node 84 in infirmary rear foundation exterior during health compliance inspection that Torin had scheduled 3 weeks earlier for exactly this window because fresh compliance angle worked once, and once was enough when 84 was the number that mattered more than the inspection's secondary purpose. 84. Caden reported observer shift before second bell. Len's attaché no longer followed certification reads alone. Attaché now paired with Academy Administrative Observer on rotation that included demonstration hall approaches, garden annex paths, library annex corridor, and faculty council anteroom where Torin's research allocation could be questioned if someone wanted to question it loudly enough to leave record. Record was Len's preferred weapon after paper trail. Paper trail after preliminary questions. Questions after jurisdiction reminders. The sequence was predictable once you stopped treating predictability as comfort and started treating it as map feature. Nova adjusted windows without ego. Ego was dead grammar. Operational pair grammar ruled. Tuesday board week 4 observer session convened at 10th bell with Len Crane in observer row and pen that never stopped moving and smile that never reached the part of his face responsible for believing other people were entitled to their own conclusions. Torin presented continuity appendix, follow-up with scholar precision that looked effortless and cost him sleep. Nova wore student deference and air courtesy in ratio head would have approved if head were still pretending neutrality instead of performing concern for institutional stability with the particular anxiety of someone who had realized stability and control were not synonyms too late to change careers. Len asked whether Cipher notation's adaptive characteristics had been tested on foundational substrates. Foundational substrates was new vocabulary. New vocabulary was narrowing. Nova answered with demonstration offer and historical equivalency framing. Len asked whether any Cipher work had been performed on anchor class inscription structures without authorization. Room temperature dropped. Torrens' pen paused one fraction of a second. Nova said, "Board jurisdiction covers notation methodology, not hypothetical substrate applications. I am prepared to demonstrate adaptive stability in approved demonstration chamber at scheduled session." Hypothetical was lie dressed as courtesy. Courtesy was still fighting. Len nodded as if she had confirmed something he already knew. He said, "The board appreciates clarity." Clarity was trap language. Trap language survived in minutes if you did not feed it nouns it wanted. Session ended without ruling. Survived. Barely. Barely was still standing. Wednesday surveillance pattern shifted again. Caden mapped it in Annex with 3 ink colors and no commentary until mapping finished, because commentary before mapping finished was how people mistook urgency for analysis. Analysis first. Red, observer pairs on demonstration hall approaches. Blue, single observer on garden paths daylight hours. Green, rotating observer in library annex corridor during Torren office hours. He said, "They're boxing the rehearsal windows." She said, "How tight?" He said, "Friday lecture hall booking is visible. Monday garden annex is visible. Wednesday empty hall is visible." Visible was cost. Cost accepted with mitigation. Mitigation became night windows for node reads and dawn windows for stroke practice in dormitory practice alcove too small for rank 6 output, but sufficient for sequence memory and hand discipline. Hand discipline was underrated until you lost it under observer eyes. Thursday node 85 in chapel annex interior plate during order drill overlap and attaché consumption at training yard decoy that Caden had run with transparent liaison honesty for 6 weeks until transparent honesty itself became cover because consistency read as innocence to people trained to look for deviation rather than pattern. 85. Friday node 86 in observatory stairwell during maintenance rain cover. 86. Pace held. Pace also visible to anyone comparing read timestamps against observer reports if anyone was comparing. Someone was comparing. Pren relayed burst fragment Thursday night. Audit liaison requesting cross-reference on maintenance work orders in buildings flagged during week 2 preliminary session. Cross-reference was how quiet wars became loud ones. Nova loud was not yet. Nova moved Saturday node window from daylight to night and accepted Torren visibility cost for official supervision on high-risk site because unsupervised night read in flagged building was faster route to disciplinary hearing than unsupervised night read without node confirmation. Disciplinary hearing was Len bait. Bait refused when possible. Saturday board week 4 supplemental notice arrived. Observer permitted at public demonstration session. Grand Archivist Office representative permitted at observer discretion. Discretion was Len. Len was Vethan in Grammar Nova used privately and never in rooms with clerks. Crane identity suspected since year 2 restricted section and year 3 East Wing proof, and every warm precise conversation that offered understanding while narrowing exits. Suspected was not proven in public. Public required standing. Standing required demonstration. Demonstration required 6 days. 6 days was Theo visit window overlapping final prep in Way's strategy session could not fully resolve without choosing which risk to eat. Strategy session Sunday in library with 3 desks and Sierra on 4th chair because political red mattered when Grand Archivist Office representative might attend demonstration session as observer extension. Sierra said, if Len attends as Bethan's proxy, the room becomes archive theater. Torren said, then we treat it as archive theater and perform mathematics. Caden said, if they deny recognition on procedural grounds before she writes a stroke, we lose standing without fight. Nova said, they won't deny before demonstration. Len wants me to write in front of witnesses. He wants fault visible or compliance visible. Either outcome feeds his next move. Either outcome. That was the pressure architecture. Pressure architecture mapped cleanly once you stopped hoping for fair review and started reading for optimal outcome under unfair rules. Optimal outcome. Recognition vote sufficient to keep historical equivalency petition alive and rank 6 advancement public enough to justify continued research allocation and board protection from more than registry escalation. Alive was low bar. Low bar was current war. Theo visit confirmed for Tuesday week 35 arrival. Supervised regional competition schedule placing him on academy grounds Wednesday through Friday, with garden practice request filed as family supervision window. Nova had approved through RIAN channels without academy formal notice, because formal notice created clerk file and clerk file created Len nouns. Nouns avoided when possible. Tuesday arrival. Friday competition display. Midnight garden session scheduled in private column only. Private column witnessed by Wall and Knight and no one else. Caden had correctly refused presence because Theo performed differently under observation, and performance under observation was how rank 4 boy became target before he became artist. Artist was what he was becoming. Artist was risk. Risk accepted inside bounds. Sunday Node 87 in Kiln Annex behind Craft Hall during soot complaint maintenance that students initiated unknowingly by complaining about soot. 87. 6 days to demonstration. 3 days to Theo. Nova reviewed demonstration sequence in dormitory alcove until hand ached with clean recalibration and mind ached with observer scenarios. Scenario 1. Len invokes precedent before she writes. Scenario 2. Len invokes precedent during writing. Scenario 3. Board examiner flinches at adaptive output and Len captures flinch as stability violation. Answer tree for each. Answer tree was fighting in prose form. Fighting in prose form was still fighting. Monday week 35 opened with surveillance green rotation parked outside Torrent office for full morning. Message received. Message returned by rescheduling Node 88 window to dawn with Caden perimeter and Prendecoy conversation in library main hall. 88. Tuesday Theo arrived at East Gate with satchel ward upgraded and regional first ribbon pinned with the uncomfortable pride of boy who wanted approval and distrusted wanting it. Nova met him at guest courtyard with air courtesy and sister grammar underneath courtesy that Rian had spent 2 years learning and Theo had spent 14 years waiting for without naming weight. He said, I placed first. She said, I know. He said, I built competition array from primer diagram. Dad sent copy. He said dad not father. Progress. Small. Real. She said, show me after supper. He said, not textbook notation. She said no. Brief silence held the thing they were not saying in public courtyard with observer possibly present in architecture, if not in person. Architecture had ears when Len designed the schedule. Supper eaten with guest protocol and Theo performing calm for benefit of table that included 2 faculty sponsors and 1 more than aligned observer who asked polite questions about regional curriculum standards. Polite questions were scans. Scans survived with polite answers. Answers omitted Cipher grammar. Omission was bounds. After supper Theo showed competition array in supervised practice room with sponsors present and Nova read fault space with professional calm while something underneath calm warmed with the dangerous pride of sister watching brother build original work from primer. That should not have been sufficient and was sufficient because Theo is Theo. Array held. Adaptive preamble normalized mana density variance across 3 examiner profiles simulated in practice configuration. Simulated profiles were not board examiners. Board examiners would be harder. Harder was future. Future contained midnight. Midnight was separate map. Board week 4 closed with 88 nodes and 6 days to demonstration and Theo on campus and observer pairs tightening around rehearsal windows and Len's supplemental notice, still sitting on Torrent desk like sealed envelope that already contained teeth. Teeth would show at demonstration. Nova intended to show teeth first. She wrote in the notebook at midnight, week 34 through 35 opening. Notes 88. Board week 4 observer session, foundational substrate question, Grand Archivist representative permitted at demonstration. Surveillance boxed rehearsal windows, dormitory alcove practice substituted. Theo arrived regional first. Competition array reviewed supervised. Midnight garden session scheduled. 6 days to demonstration. Len narrowing trap. She closed notebook and listened to academy night sounds, thinking about brother sleeping in guest wing with ribbon pinned and ward holding and real notation waiting in garden path like problem she had postponed since year 1 when survival meant hiding grammar even from family, especially from family. Because family was leverage for people like Len and Vet Han and the institution they wore as warmth. Hiding was over for Theo in bounds could survive. Bounds would be tested, and testing was also runway if you chose the test instead of letting opponent choose it. She slept 3 hours, mapped one window before dawn, and let war continue with Theo breathing in guest wing like family node the war map had finally admitted was not optional. Family was constrained and reason routed into work and 6 days remaining, enough if waste stopped. Waste noted and filed and overridden by next task, because tasks were how Nova Vane had survived 2 lives and intended to survive the 3rd long enough to change what survival meant for people standing on anchor substrate pretending it was foundation. Politics would meet mathematics in demonstration chamber, and she waited actively, the way you waited for execution window when vulnerability was mapped and payload written and only trigger remained. Trigger was rank 6 stroke in front of witnesses, including Len and the precedent she had already found in Torrens' archive excerpt. Prepared was the only courtesy she intended to offer. Mathematics began where courtesy ended. Regional Competition Day made Academy grounds perform normalcy with the particular intensity institutions used when important visitors arrived and important secrets needed to remain invisible at the same time. Theo performed normalcy differently. He performed it like someone who had learned early that being watched changed the shape of confidence and had decided anyway to compete because first place was evidence and evidence was language he could send to sister who spoke operational grammar even when pretending to speak air courtesy. Nova watched from approved gallery with faculty sponsors and more than aligned observer, and Caden on rear wall pretending to review order liaison schedule while actually counting exits. Counting exits was habit. Habit was alliance grammar now. Theo wrote competition array on sanctioned slate with approved ink and textbook preamble modified by small adaptive correction only visible if you knew what adaptive correction looked like. Nova knew. She saw density normalization land clean across 3 profile variances simulated in regional standard configuration. Clean was not showy. Showy would have been mistake in supervised daylight with observer scanning for deviation nouns. Deviation nouns waited for midnight. Midnight was where real notation lived. He placed first. Announcement arrived with polite applause and sponsor congratulations and observer smile that did not reach eyes because observer had noted adaptive correction even if observer could not name it correctly yet. Naming was Len's job. Len was not in gallery. Len's absence was presence. Nova met Theo at guest wing corridor after awards with air courtesy for sponsors and sister grammar for him alone in 3 seconds between door close and door close. He said, "You saw." She said, "Yes." He said, "That's not the real notation." She said, "No." He said, "Tonight." Not question. Statement. Statement was Theo at 14 becoming person who did not ask permission for necessary things anymore. Necessary routed into bounds. Bounds held at midnight garden path with wall empty except moon and frost on stone and boy who placed first waiting on wall with slate cleared and hands steady in way that made Nova remember herself at 14 hiding in same garden learning grammar from Margin's mother. Wrote in books father thought were decorative. Decorative was always cover. Cover was always political. Theo said, "Teach me everything." Everything was not one session. Everything was commitment. Commitment was what he was asking in grammar he had not yet learned to write. She said, 2 hours. He said, "Start." She started with Cipher preamble not because preamble was exciting, but because preamble was root access to every adaptive sequence he would ever write if he continued on path he was already walking faster than permission allowed. Root access metaphors stayed internal. External grammar was instruction. Instruction was dry. Dry was kindness when stakes were real. She wrote first stroke on slate between them with cipher ink that looked black in moonlight and moved like conditional code resolving under pressure. Pressure was not metaphor in inscription. Pressure was mana density and examiner variance and fault space waiting for lazy assumption. Lazy assumption killed practitioners. Killed was literal in sever school records she could not teach him yet. Yet was bounds. Bounds tonight. Grammar, not war map. War map stayed in notebook fold she rewrote daily. Notebook fold stayed in inner pocket. Inner pocket stayed closed. She taught conditional branching with the same sequence mother used in proof margins without saying mother used it because saying it would make Theo perform grief instead of notation and grief performance was Len bait in family form. Family form refused. Theo copied first branching sequence with hand discipline that still carried textbook stiffness in wrist. Stiffness faded by 20th repetition. 20th repetition arrived before she expected it. Expected was benchmark from her own year 1 garden hours. His year 1 was tonight. Tonight was enough to see speed. Speed was not reckless. Speed was comprehension arriving without intermediate apology. Apology was Habit Academy beat into students who deviated. Deviation was what Cipher was accused of being. Accusation was tomorrow's fight. Tonight was grammar. She taught density normalization next because competition array had approximated it without full theoretical basis, and approximation was dangerous at rank 4 and lethal at rank 6 if uncorrected. Correction landed in his slate on 32nd attempt with clean recalibration across 3 variance profiles. He improvised without prompt because he had listened to branching logic and applied it to normalization problem without being told application was allowed. Allowed was not word he needed. Needed was structure. Structure given. Structure taken. Taken faster than she had taken it at 14 in same garden with mother's primer copied in secret and no sister to teach her because Theo had not existed in first life's map, and in this life he existed and wanted everything with the terrifying clarity of boy who placed first and still knew first was insufficient. Insufficient was correct assessment. Insufficient was also why bounds mattered. She taught adaptive feedback loops for 1 hour without break because he did not ask for break, and asking for break would have been management habit, and management habit was dead grammar between them tonight. Feedback loop sequence required writer to read examiner mana signature in real time and adjust output without breaking structural equivalence to approved framework. Real time was rank 6 concept taught tonight because he could absorb it tonight. Absorb was an inadequate verb. He integrated it. Integration showed in 37th minute when he wrote loop that adjusted to her mana signature as she reacted to his correction with deliberate flinch, and his inscription recalibrated to compensate flinch without collapsing equivalence. Collapse would have been failure mode. Failure mode avoided. Avoided cleanly. Cleanly enough that Nova paused 1 beat longer than instructor pause required. Beat longer was internal recognition. External grammar remained instruction. She said, again. He said, with variance. She said, yes. Variance profile 3. Profile 4 improvised. Profile 5 borrowed from competition slate configuration. Each pass cleaner. Each pass faster. Faster than she had been at 14. Faster than she had been at 15 when she finally understood feedback loops in theory before practice caught up. Practice and theory arriving together was gift and hazard. Gift for him. Hazard for anyone who wanted him invisible. Invisibility was not plan anymore. Plan was bounds. Bounds. Garden, midnight, 2 hours, no war vocabulary, no anchor map, no silence, no 0 day, no crane, no len, no proof deployment, no rank path above public 5 discussed aloud. Aloud mattered. Garden had ears even at midnight. Midnight reduced ears. Reduced was not 0. 0 was fantasy. Fantasy refused. Second hour she taught self-modifying continuation strokes without naming rank 6, without naming demonstration, without naming board chamber, waiting 5 days out with len and precedent and observers and vote that would either grant standing or narrow trap. Trap knowledge stayed internal. External. Continuation grammar only. Continuation required writer to treat inscription as conversation with environment rather than command to environment. Conversation was Cipher philosophy in 1 sentence if you allowed philosophy. Philosophy disallowed tonight. Grammar allowed. Grammar delivered. Theo wrote continuation that filled garden air with structured light faint enough to read as practice effect, not threat effect, and adjusted faint light when she shifted mana signature left then right, then deliberately unstable in way examiners sometimes were without knowing they were unstable. Unstable examiner was bored reality. Bored reality simulated in Frost Garden with brother who breathed through nose and did not comment on beauty because commenting on beauty would have been performance. Performance withheld. Withholding was trust. Trust was new between them. New held. 2 hours ended at second bell past midnight because bounds were bounds even when student exceeded benchmark and teacher wanted to continue because continuing felt like finding second copy of proof walking in boy shape with ribbon in guest wing and ward on satchel. and eyes that did not look away from hard problems. Hard problems were family inheritance. Inheritance unspoken aloud. Aloud refused. Internal only, Mom made 2 of us and none of us knew it. Thought arrived complete without bidding. Complete was grief and pride and operational assessment in single packet. Packet filed internal. External grammar, instruction closure. She said, stop here. He said, not enough. She said, enough for tonight. He said, rank 6 continuation. She said, don't say that where walls have ears. He looked at garden wall as if seeing ears for first time. First time recognition was progress. Progress noted. She wiped slate with Cipher fold that dissolved ink without trace because trace was len noun. Trace refused. She said, practice branching and normalization tomorrow supervised. Do not show continuation in daylight. He said, I know. He said, I know like person who meant it. Meaning it was bound surviving contact with capability. Capability was extraordinary. Extraordinary was word she allowed internally and not allowed because allowed made target. Target management was sister job now. Job accepted. They walked back to guest wing separate corridors because separate corridors were cover. Cover was love and operational grammar sometimes. Sometimes was tonight. Morning brought supervised practice with sponsors present and textbook notation only and Theo performing textbook with wrist stiffness deliberately reintroduced because performance for observers was survival grammar he was learning from sister whether he named teacher or not. Named or not did not matter. Matter was 5 days to demonstration and 89 nodes on map and brother, who integrated rank 6 concept in 2 hours and still ate breakfast with polite manners for more than aligned observer scanning for unauthorized curriculum expansion. Expansion deflected. Deflection survived. Survival was low bar. Low bar held. Nova wrote in the notebook at midnight. Theo Regional first confirmed. Garden midnight 2-hour Cipher instruction. Branching, normalization, feedback loops, continuation strokes. Faster integration than my year 1 benchmark. Extraordinary capability noted. Bounds held. War vocabulary omitted. Internal recognition only. 5 days to demonstration. She closed notebook and stood at dormitory window looking down garden path where structured light had faintly hung 2 hours earlier. Thinking about mother who made 2 people with same grammar and bones and died before either could be named honestly by institution that preferred stability to truth. Truth would meet institution in demonstration chamber in 5 days. Brother slept in guest wing with grammar he should not yet possess and discipline to hide at daylight hours because she had taught him hiding as kindness not shame fragile, but still holding, still runway spent on family node because family was not optional. She practiced demonstration strokes in alcove until hand ached and mind cleared. Fear noted and overridden because fear was waste and waste depleted runway. Plan was rank 6 proof in 5 days with brother extraordinary and guest wing and Len narrowing trap and Caden counting exits and Torin holding scholar precision, like blade with handle wrapped in citations. She slept 2 hours, mapped 1 window before dawn, and let war continue with family nested inside it like grammar inside grammar, structure held for now. Until demonstration made for now into public fact that could not be unwritten without cost institution would finally have to pay an open light instead of archive darkness. The eve before board demonstration was not restful by any definition restful belonged to, but it was structured, and structure was how Nova had learned to sleep when sleep was not guaranteed. 5 days had collapsed into 1 since garden midnight. Theo departed after regional display with ribbon packed and ward holding and slate wiped clean and promise made without words that continuation grammar would stay in private column until sister said otherwise. Otherwise was not yet. Not yet was protection. Protection was love with operational handle. Thursday node 90 confirmed in eastern basement relay during repair legitimacy window board pressure had paradoxically opened. 90. Friday demonstration rehearsal in empty lecture hall booked through Torin research allocation with observer pair visible in corridor and rehearsal scaled down to sequence memory and hand discipline because full rank 6 output in visible hall was invitation. Len did not need in writing. Scaled down was compromise. Compromise was runway math. Saturday Methodology Supplement submitted addressing observer question on adaptive stability with 3 additional citations Torin extracted from obscure equivalency precedents that were real if inconvenient to approved framework enthusiasts. Enthusiasts included 2 board examiners Len had been courting since week 2 preliminary session according to Sierra Political Red delivered an annex without drama because drama was waste. Waste refused. Sunday eve before demonstration brought strategy session that was not strategy session in official sense, because official sense created clerk file. Unofficial sense gathered Nova and Torin and Caden in library after 9th bell with doors closed and map rolled away and demonstration sequence written on slate in Cipher shorthand only they could read. Only they could read was minimum security. Minimum was current war. Torin said, Len will invoke great inscription wars precedent. Nova said, I know. He slid excerpt across desk. Excerpt was real. Precedent was real. Argument technically correct. Cipher notation classified as destabilizing framework in post-war stabilization charter language, still binding on academy recognition proceedings, if examiner chose to apply it. Chose to apply was Len's leverage. Leverage required witness gasp or examiner fear or student flinch. Flinch refused in advance by preparation. Preparation was answer tree written in margins of excerpt with 3 branches and 2 fallbacks and 1 emergency continuation if board attempted procedural denial before demonstration stroke. Emergency continuation was risky. Risky accepted over silent loss. Caden said, if they stop you before you write, I cannot intervene from gallery. She said, I know. He said, that is not acceptable. She said, it's accurate. Accurate was alliance grammar between them now. Accurate did not require comfort. Comfort was not metric. Metric was standing alive after vote. Vote predicted 4-2 if demonstration landed clean. 4-2 was Torin estimate from examiner profiles and Sierra political read and 2 weeks observer behavior mapping. Predicted was not guaranteed. Guaranteed was not word war used. War used, likely, sufficient, survivable. Survivable was low bar. Low bar was floor. Floor held or floor did not. Caden stood at window long moment after excerpt review finished. Long moment was his version of emotional speech. Emotional speech avoided. Avoided by both. He said, you are going to write something they cannot unsee. She said yes. He said, good. 1 word. 1 word heavier than compliment because compliment performed. Performed refused. He said, I'll be in gallery. She said, I know. He said, 2 seconds if it goes wrong. She said, it won't go wrong. He looked at her. She said, it might go wrong procedurally. The stroke won't. Confidence was not bravado. Confidence was map feature when map was accurate. Accurate map required sleep. Sleep required standing calculus completed. Standing calculus was term she used internally for arithmetic of visibility cost versus recognition benefit versus Len capture risk versus more than escalation risk versus family node exposure versus node map continuity versus rank 6. Public ceiling establishing justification for research allocation and board protection and next phase war. Next phase war assumed survival. Survival assumed vote. Vote assumed demonstration. Demonstration assumed rest. Rest attempted. Torin walked her to dormitory corridor without speaking because speaking would have been mentor performance and mentor performance was not what she needed eve before fight. Needed was presence. Presence provided. Provided in silence and brief grip on doorframe as he left that was not arm grip because arm grip was for after and after had not arrived. After was tomorrow. Tomorrow 10th bell board chamber. Chamber held 6 examiners and observer row and gallery seats and clerk recorder and institutional air that smelled like polished wood and fear dressed as neutrality. Neutrality was costume. Costume noted. Nova dressed student deference and air courtesy and private certainty underneath, both like armor replaced with structure. Structure slept 2 hours. Structure woke before dawn and practiced continuation sequence in alcove without full output because alcove could not hold rank 6 light without alerting floor proctor. Alerting refused. Morning brought final answer tree review with Torin at 7th bell. Final review was redundancy. Redundancy was how systems survived fault conditions. Fault conditions were Len's specialty. Specialty met with specialty. Mid-morning, Caden appeared at library table with forged stylus. He had modified again without announcement because announcement was not his grammar. Modification was amplification assist for precision work if mana layer strained under observer pressure. Pressure expected. Strain possible. Possible mitigated. Mitigated accepted without thank you speech because thank you speech performed. Performed refused. She ran thumb along forge inscription. He said, don't mention it in chamber. She said, I won't. He said, don't fail because you are trying to be small. Small was yesterday's habit. Yesterday ended eve before. Eve before ended at second bell when she closed slate and ate food because calories were operational requirement and operational requirements were love with spreadsheets sometimes. Sometimes was today. Afternoon brought sealed note from Rian without cipher fold. Inside one line, he knows you are ready. So do I. He was father grammar for Vethan knows, and I still choose you. Choose you was not spoken in court or chamber. Spoken in line was enough. Enough routed into calm. Calm was not absence of fear. Calm was fear assigned seat in back row while work sat front. Front row work. Sleep 3 hours. Review jurisdiction reminder phrasing. Review historical equivalency opening. Review continuation trigger timing. Review examiner profile order for adaptive feedback sequence. Review exit route Caden mapped. Review clerk recorder angles. Review observer row seat assignment confirmation that Len would sit where pen could move without blocking examiner sightline to demonstration slate. Slate prepared. Ink prepared. Forged stylus in inner pocket if needed. Needed hopefully not. Hopefully was not plan. Plan was stroke. Evening 9th bell Sierra appeared at annex door uninvited and invited herself in because Loon courtesy had evolved into alliance directness over 2 years' war. Directness appreciated. Appreciated silently. Silence was thanks. She said, 4-2 if you do not apologize. Nova said, I removed apology. Sierra said, remove flinch too. Flinch was harder. Harder because flinch was year 1 habit and year 1 was dead girl's ghost in muscle memory sometimes. Sometimes overridden. Override practiced. Practice continued until 10th bell curfew. Curfew observed publicly. Public observed because standing required rule compliance in visible dimensions while invisible dimensions fought different war. Different war same body. Body tired. Tired noted. Noted and not indulged because indulgence was waste. Waste refused. Night before demonstration Nova sat on dormitory bed with notebook open and wrote standing calculus in plain language rare for notebook because plain language eve before fight was clarity deposit for self tomorrow might need. Plain language said, recognition grants petition continuity and public rank 6 justification and temporary board shield and lend procedural delay cost and more than registry hesitation and research allocation protection and Caden alliance visibility and Torin. Career risk and family node distance and node map continuity and next phase access to provincial travel arguments. Next phase assumed alive. Alive assumed vote. Vote assumed beauty. Beauty was weapon tomorrow if written without apology. Apology removed. Flinch removed. Small removed. Removed was not arrogance. Arrogance performed. Removed was accuracy. Accuracy slept 1 hour. Hour enough. Morning demonstration day arrived with sky clear and academy performing importance with banners nobody asked for and clerk runners moving like polished wood had learned anxiety. Anxiety contagious. Contagion resisted. Resisted by procedure. Procedure. Breakfast eaten. Robes checked. Slate checked. Ink checked. Torin met at 8th bell. Walked to chamber corridor without haste because haste read as guilt. Guilt refused. Gallery filled gradually. Caden seated rear left exit count 3 confirmed without looking like counting. Counting was habit. Habit invisible. Invisible was skill. Torin beside her at chamber threshold whispered not prayer but citation index page number for destabilizing framework rebuttal if Len opened with precedent before she wrote. Opened before was branch 1. Branch 1 ready. Ready was runway spent well. Spent well was plan. Plan met chamber door. Door opened. Nova wrote in the notebook at midnight eve, standing calculus complete. Len precedent confirmed real and technically applicable. Great inscription wars destabilizing framework classification. Answer trees final. Apology removed. Flinch target removed. Caden gallery rear left. Torrent cosigner ready. Forge stylus available. Demonstration stroke prepared. Vote target 4-2. Survive first. Win second. She closed notebook demonstration eve and slept 1 hour, waking with calm assigned fear back row and work front row and chamber waiting like execution window mapped and payload written and trigger unspent. Unspent until today 10th bell. Today routed into corridor walk and door open and examiner eyes and observer row and Len pen already moving before session called to order because Len rode ahead of truth to shape truth into compliance. Compliance refused. Mathematics began when courtesy ended. Courtesy ended at chamber threshold. Threshold crossed. Crossed without flinch. Flinch removed. Removed held. Held into session call. Session called. Fight begun. Begun quietly. Quietly was her preference. Preference met chamber. Chamber waited for stroke. Stroke waited inside wrist disciplined by 2 years war and 1 midnight garden and mother grammar in bones and brother extraordinary in guest wing memory and father line choosing you and alliance behind her and map below her and the enemy timeline above her. Pressing down like weather. Weather noted. Weather not controlling. Controlling was stroke. Stroke unspent. Unspent ready. Ready enough. Enough crossed threshold. Threshold was now. Now continued in chamber beyond eve. Eve complete. Complete routed into demonstration day body standing straight without performing small, because small was dead grammar and dead grammar was runway spent well, and spent well was only plan that mattered when precedent waited in observer row like sealed envelope with teeth. Teeth would meet mathematics. Mathematics ready. Ready was all Eve could deposit. Deposit sufficient. Sufficient held until bell. Bell would call order. Order would call her name. Name would answer with ink. Ink ready. Ready enough for morning. Morning arrived. Arrived without apology. Apology dead. Dead held. Held into chamber light. Light waiting. Waiting for structured output that would fill room and adjust to examiner mana and prove rank 6 without speaking rank aloud, because rank spoken aloud was target and target management required public fact delivered as beauty not threat. Beauty was plan. Plan was survival. Survival was standing. Standing began today. Today 10th bell. Bell near. Near enough to feel in ribs. Ribs steady. Steady enough. Enough. Board chamber 10th bell was institution performing gravity with the careful acoustics of rooms designed to make certain voices sound inevitable and other voices sound provisional. Nova intended to sound inevitable. Inevitable was not volume. Inevitable was mathematics delivered without flinch. Examiner table held 6 profiles Torin had mapped across 6 weeks observer theater. Center examiner, stabilization conservative, responds to historical citation. Left examiner, equivalency moderate, responds to structural proof. Right examiner, procedural hawk, responds to jurisdiction clarity. Rear examiner, craft tradition, responds to visible elegance. Flank examiner, administrative loyalist, responds to institutional safety language. Final examiner, young reformist, responds to adaptability framed as continuity not rupture. Profiles were predictions. Predictions were runway spent on preparation not certainty. Certainty was Len's costume. Costume noted. Session called to order. Clerk recorder ink moving. Torin presented historical equivalency petition continuity with scholar precision that looked effortless and cost sleep visible only to people who knew his face well enough to read micro-tension at jaw. Micro-tension was not flinch. Flinch removed. Nova stood cosigner position with student deference available if needed and not needed yet because opening belonged to Torin until observer row intervened. Intervened on schedule. Len Crane observer seat 3rd row pen already moving before chairman permitted observer questions because Len treated permission as formality once room architecture favored his grammar. Grammar opened with courtesy. Courtesy ended quickly. Len said, before methodology demonstration proceeds, I request board consideration of Great Inscription Wars Stabilization Precedent classifying Cipher notation variants as destabilizing framework under post-war charter binding on recognition proceedings. Room temperature dropped. Not metaphor. Actual shift in chamber climate inscription when examiner fear spiked. Fear was leverage. Leverage real because precedent real. Torin had excerpted it Sunday Eve. Excerpt was in her pocket memory now. Real precedent. Technically correct argument. Correct was Len's specialty when he could not win on mathematics alone. Alone was today. Today mathematics would speak. Chairman looked to Torin. Torin cited counter-precedents with page numbers calm as blade handle wrapped in citations. Citations insufficient alone. Insufficient expected. Len said, adaptive self-modifying notation cannot guarantee stability under foundational load. Charter language exists because history demonstrated failure modes. History demonstrated failure modes was phrase designed to produce GASP. GASP partially arrived in administrative loyalist examiner shift. Shift noted. Branch 1 active. Nova said, Chairman, I request permission to demonstrate adaptive stability directly rather than debate abstraction in absence of evidence. Absence of evidence was challenge dressed as courtesy. Courtesy fighting. Chairman paused. Pause was procedural risk. Risk accepted by Chairman nod. Nod granted. Granted demonstration slate center chamber. Center chamber was stage. Stage was trap if stroke failed. Failed was not plan. Plan was continuation sequence practiced eve before and midnight garden and 2 years private war and mother grammar in bones. Bone study. Slate placed. Ink opened. Forged stylus in inner pocket untouched because touch might read as strain and strain might read as guilt. Guilt refused. Gallery quiet. Caden rear left exit count held without looking like counting. Counting habit invisible. Invisible skill. Torin beside her one step not touching because touching was for after and after not yet. Not yet was chamber rules. Rules, right? Right real-time self-modifying cipher inscription adaptive to examiner mana signatures as they react. React they would. Would because she would give them reason. Reason was structured light. Light began at first stroke. First stroke conditional preamble establishing equivalence to approved framework baseline so procedural hawk could not stop demonstration on technical noncompliance before adaptation began. Noncompliance avoided. Avoided cleanly. Second stroke feedback loop opening. Third stroke continuation architecture. Architecture not apology. Apology dead. Chamber air filled with structured light faint at first, then resolving into lattice that mapped approved stability grammar in visible form beautiful enough that craft tradition examiner leaned forward despite institutional training to distrust beauty that arrived. Without authorized pedigree. Pedigree was politics. Politics met lattice. Lattice held. Nova read mana signatures in real time because rank 6 work required reading not guessing. Guessing was textbook. Textbook was not tonight or today or this chamber. Center examiner shifted uncertainty. Lattice adjusted output compensating uncertainty without collapsing equivalence. Collapse would be failure mode. Failure mode avoided. Administrative loyalist examiner fear spiked at adaptive shift because fear was response to destabilizing framework narrative Len had seeded for 6 weeks. Spike noted. Lattice adjusted again softer at edges harder at structural core showing adaptation as stabilization not rupture. Rupture was Len word. Word refused visually. Visually was argument examiners trusted more than citations when citations ward. Ward now. Len pen moving faster. Faster noted. Noted without flinch. Young reformist examiner breathed audible surprise when lattice split into dual harmonic paths resolving into single coherent output without energy loss visible to trained eye. Energy loss absence was Kira-proof demonstration without Kira-proof deployment. Deployment bounds held. Bounds, beauty not indictment. Indictment internal. External, work. Work unmistakably rank 6. Rank 6 not spoken aloud. Aloud was target. Target management required public fact delivered as art. Art was plan. Plan executing. Executing in chamber silence, broken only by clerk recorder shifting weight because recorder had not seen rank 6 student demonstration in recognition hearing before because recognition hearings rarely contained rank 6 students because rank 6 students rarely existed outside approved pedigree channels. Channels were politics. Politics watching lattice adjust to each examiner reaction in sequence center then left then right then rear then flank then young reformist again closing loop because loop closure was grammar point len could not unwrite once written in air and light and structured output. Filling chamber with evidence abstraction could not defeat without looking like fear of evidence. Fear of evidence was different from fear of destabilization. Difference visible on procedural hawk face microtension, resolving toward acceptance, not approval, but acceptance of observed fact. Observed fact was runway deposit. Deposit continued 3 minutes that felt like 1 life and 2 lives and current life converging on slate and wrist and ink moving like conversation with room rather than command to room. Conversation was Cipher philosophy. Philosophy not spoken. Spoken would be performance. Performance refused. Final stroke closed loop. Loop held 1 breath. Breath chamber collective. Collective broken by chairman clearing throat because institutions needed sound to transition from evidence to procedure again. Procedure again. Deliberation. Deliberation brief relative to 6 weeks runway. Runway narrowed to vote. Vote 4-2 recognition. 4-2 sufficient. Sufficient survival. Survival not celebration. Celebration performed refused. Chairman announced historical equivalency methodology recognition provisional pending documentation submission and mentorship review standard for new notation systems. Standard was compromise language. Compromise accepted. Accepted without flinch. Provisional was still alive. Alive was standing. Standing gained. Len Crane observer row stilled pen 1 fraction second, then resumed moving because pen stopping would be comment and comment refused. Refused publicly. Publicly, he stood when session adjourned and left chamber without comment, without glance, without courtesy nod to chairman, without acknowledgement of demonstration that had filled room with structured light examiners would remember in sleep tonight. Without comment was its own comment. Comment filed. Torin gripped her arm briefly and let go. Briefly was enough. Enough was alliance grammar without speech. Speech would perform. Performed refused. Gallery dispersed with controlled institutional noise. Caden caught her eye exactly 2 seconds from rear left exit count position. 2 seconds, not 3. Not 1. Exact was his grammar. Grammar said, seen, held, exit clear later. Later was not now. Now was corridor walk with Torin and clerk paperwork and examiner profiles replaying in head for fault analysis, because fault analysis was habit and habit was how you survived victory without mistaking victory for end. And not yet. Yet standing improved. Improved enough to justify next phase node acceleration and provincial travel arguments and research allocation protection and temporary board shield and lend procedural delay cost paid in public beauty. He could not unsee without admitting he had tried to. Stop evidence with precedent designed for wars dead before she was born. Born into grammar war. War continued. Continued with vote deposit in pocket memory and arm brief grip ghost, and I 2 seconds ghost and chamber light fading from retinas, like after image of proof mother wrote and daughter demonstrated and son integrated midnight without witness institution could file. File refused. Refused for today. Today victory sufficient. Sufficient routed into documentation submission schedule and mentorship review compliance and public rank 6 ceiling established without speaking 6 aloud because 6 aloud was target and target management required fact delivered as recognized. Methodology not rank announcement. Announcement avoided. Avoided cleanly. Cleanly enough for clerk recorder minutes that would read adaptive demonstrations satisfied stability concerns raised by observer and board voted recognition provisional. Provisional was alive. Alive was runway extended. Extended not infinite. Infinite fantasy refused. Fantasy refused routed into annex map session scheduled tomorrow because 90 nodes was not 147 and the enemy timeline did not pause for board votes. Votes mattered. Matter did not pause war. War continued in margins with standing improved in visible dimension for first time since petition filing 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks ago felt like year 1. Year 1 dead. Dead grammar. Current grammar. Recognized provisional methodology. Rank 6 demonstrated. Len left without comment. Tore an arm briefly. Caden 2 seconds. 4-2 vote. Precedent met with mathematics. Mathematics won today. Today not end. End distant. Distant acceptable. Acceptable routed into work. Nova wrote in the notebook at midnight. Board demonstration complete. Len invoked Great Inscription War's destabilizing framework precedent. Real. Technically correct. Real-time self-modifying Cipher inscription adaptive to examiner mana signatures. Structured light-filled chamber. Rank 6 work demonstrated without rank announcement. Vote 4-2 recognition provisional. Len left without comment. Tore an arm grip brief. Caden eye contact 2 seconds gallery. Standing improved. Provisional alive. War continues. Notes 90. She closed notebook and stood at window with chamber after image, still in retinas and arm, still feeling brief grip ghost, and I still holding 2 seconds memory. Thinking about beauty deployed as survival not apology and precedent met with work that could not be unwritten without institution admitting it feared evidence. Feared evidence was different from feared destabilization, and that difference was today's deposit spent well, provisional victory alive. Runway extended toward 147 and the enemy timeline and everything else unresolved held long enough to act. Bounds held even in victory, without deploying proof. Discipline was love for brother and father and alliance and map and world that might still be saved if Runway spent well enough before the enemy demanded everything else she had promised she would not spend alone. She slept 2 hours, shallow but earned, and dawn came with map waiting and 91st node window because map did not pause for votes and neither did she. The board chamber did not empty quickly after a 4-2 vote. Victory had a half-life measured in witness count and the speed at which clerks could redistribute the story into safer grammar. Nova stood at the demonstration dais with Cipher ink still cooling along her left wrist and watched the room perform its aftermath the way institutions always performed aftermath, not as conclusion, but as translation. Translation was Len Crane's specialty. He had lost the round. He had not lost the war. He gathered his observer materials with the unhurried precision of a man who filed defeats under procedural headings and returned to them when jurisdiction shifted. His pen stopped moving only when he stood. He looked at Nova once, not with hostility, not with warmth, with the flat assessment of someone updating a threat model, and left without comment. Vethan was not in the room. Vethan's absence was also presence. Torin gripped her arm briefly at the stairwell and let go. The grip said, "You survived the argument." The release said, "Do not perform relief where head could file it." Caden caught her eye from the gallery for exactly 2 seconds. 2 seconds was enough. 2 seconds was the operational pair acknowledging that public rank 6 had landed and the next phase would not wait for ceremony. The Academy learned about the vote before second bell ended. Learning and believing were different departments. By lunch, the dining hall had 3 competing versions of what had happened in the board chamber. Version 1. Lady Vane had demonstrated destabilizing framework, and the board had mistaken beauty for compliance. Version 2. Historical equivalency had been granted and cipher notation was now academically legitimate. Version 3. Whispered in scholarship annex corners where Pren kept his failure mode logs. She had written an inscription that read the room, and the room had voted yes, because the room could not pretend it had not seen what it saw. Nova ate lunch in the scholarship annex with the appetite of someone who understood that public rank 6 made her more visible, not less hunted. Visibility was standing. Standing was runway. Runway was still depleting. Head found her outside advanced theory with clipboard held differently again, not uncertain now recalibrated. Head said, "The board recognized Cipher under 7C. Nova said, "Yes." Head said, "That changes your file category." Nova said, "To what?" Head said, "I don't know yet. Compliance is arguing with advancement about who owns your mornings." She paused. Archivist's secondary office sent a courtesy acknowledgement. Not congratulations. Acknowledgement. Nova said, "I'll try to contain my gratitude." Head's mouth did something that might have been almost amusement if Head permitted amusement. She said, "Night Scholar Vane was in the gallery." not question. Observation filed. Nova said, he witnesses board proceedings as part of order scholarship rotation. Head said, rotation schedules are public. His presence today was not on the published rotation. Nova filed that without changing expression. Caden had been in the gallery because Caden had decided the gallery mattered more than published rotation schedules. Operational pair grammar extended to witness placement now. She said, I'll note the discrepancy. Head said, do. Head left. Nova went to Torin's office hour line with the formal recognition letter copy and a question about whether Len could appeal through compliance before the recognition entered curriculum crosswalk. Torin said he can try. 7C recognition creates board jurisdiction that compliance cannot unwrite without new board session. He'll look for procedural fault instead. Nova said he'll find procedural fault. He's Len. Torin said, then we answer procedural fault with documentation we already prepared. Documentation was fighting in archive form. Fighting in archive form was still fighting. That afternoon, Chancellor's office released a neutral statement. Advancement Board had conducted historical equivalency review per Charter Clause 7C. Outcome recorded. Curriculum integration pending Faculty Council scheduling. Neutral was not safe. Neutral was the Academy admitting it had no clean page for what happened and choosing not to panic in public. Nova read the statement twice and identified 3 phrases Len could weaponize in a compliance follow-up. She sent the phrases to Torin before tea. Torin sent back revised answer trees by dusk. Answer trees were love in scholar grammar. Crane response arrived in a different channel. Not from Bethan. From more than administrative office, routed through certification audit liaison with vocabulary so polished it barely qualified as threat. Routine post-recognition safety review of high-ranked demonstration artifacts. Request for access logs to board chamber preparation rooms. Request for mentorship crosswalk verification on historical equivalency petition cosigners. Request scheduled for 48 hours. 48 hours was not coincidence. 48 hours was pipeline grammar. Len lost the board vote and more than office moved to adjacent jurisdiction before recognition settled into curriculum. Caden met her in the East Corridor with the request copy folded in his hand. He said, they're not waiting for you to celebrate. She said, I wasn't planning to celebrate. He said, good. He walked beside her toward Annex without asking whether she wanted company. Company was no longer negotiated every corridor. Company was operational default when threat surfaces updated. They mapped the more than request against node red windows and found 2 conflicts. South Chapel Foundation red scheduled for tomorrow dawn. Archive sub-basement relay verification scheduled for Thursday night. South Chapel moved to tonight with ordered drill cover. Archive relay moved to Friday with maintenance legitimacy borrowed from board weeks increased repair authorizations. Borrowed legitimacy was still legitimacy. Nova spent the evening in Library Corral rebuilding nothing because nothing had been taken yet. Rebuilding was premature. Preparation was not. She copied anchor pin overlay onto fresh paper using memory and Caden's metal sleeve annotations and Torin's building chronology. Working with the disciplined anger of someone who understood that recognition had made the map more valuable to enemies who already suspected it existed. 81 nodes by midnight. For confirmed in the 48 hours before board demonstration, Observatory Stairwell Pin, West Dormitory Secondary Foundation, Craft Hall Kiln Annex Reinforcement, Administration South Corridor Junction. 81 of 147. 66 remaining. 66 was still war. War no longer solo. Wednesday opened with South Chapel red completed under drill noise, and Node 82 logged before first bell. Wednesday afternoon brought Sierra with political intelligence dressed as Society Bulletin. 2 board members who had voted yes were receiving increased archive courtesy briefings labeled Curriculum Integration Support. 1 board member who had voted no had lunch scheduled with Archivist Secondary Office next week. Sierra said, Len is building a counter-narrative before recognition enters curriculum. Nova said, what's the narrative? Sierra said that 7C recognition grants notation legitimacy, not methodological expansion. That your demonstration was exceptional performance, not precedent for auxiliary instruction. That cipher remains historically interesting and practically contained. Contained. Same word family as destabilizing. Different blade angle. Nova said, Theo arrives in 9 days. Syrah said, I know. Nova said, garden session stays bounded. Syrah said, garden session is already on Len's probable watch list because board week made you visible. Visibility was the price of standing. Standing was still cheaper than submission. Thursday, Torin received a tea invitation from Grand Archive Administration, not Vethan personally, Grand Archive Administration, requesting courtesy consultation on 7C integration standards. Courtesy consultation was Vethan's grammar when he wanted a room without leaving fingerprints. Torin said, don't go alone. Nova said, I wasn't going to. He said, that wasn't a suggestion. She looked at him. He said, I'm co-signer. Len will use solo attendance as procedural fault. Procedural fault was Len's religion. Nova said, tea with Archive Administration is not the same as tea with Crane. Torin said, no. It's worse. It's tea with the institution pretending Crane isn't in the kettle. They scheduled attendance together with Syrah providing corridor witness outside the Archive Liaison Office and Caden providing order-visible presence in the waiting antechamber. Presence layers were firewall grammar now. The tea itself was warm and empty. Archive Liaison spoke about integration timelines and demonstration artifact storage standards and the importance of ensuring historical notation did not encourage student deviation into unsupervised methodological experimentation. Nova answered with charter language and board vote record and offered to submit demonstration artifact through approved custody channel. Torin answered with citation index and faculty council scheduling norms. No one said vaulted circle. No one said anchor nodes. No one named the enemy protocol. No one needed to. The tea was Crane response without Crane in the room, a reminder that recognition had changed her standing, not his reach. Friday node batch pushed the map to 85. 85 confirmed anchor locations across Academy grounds and early extrapolation markers on provincial facilities. Syrah's registry work had flagged as high-probability host sites. 85 was the number Nova wrote in Cipher notebook that night with hands that had stopped shaking sometime between Board Chamber and South Chapel Red. Public rank 6 meant she could demonstrate without hiding rank. Public rank 6 also meant more than office requests and Len compliance follow-ups and head recalibration, and archive courtesy teas arrived on accelerated schedule because the pipeline understood it had lost a round and still owned most of the building. Saturday brought Theo visit confirmation, 3 days, supervised regional preparatory session, garden practice window requested for second night. Theo's handwriting on the permission copy. I built something new. Want you to see it before they make me perform textbook. Nova read the sentence in annex stairwell with Caden on the step above and Torin's door closed at the landing. Caden said, he's going to be extraordinary. She said, I know. He said, extraordinary is a target. She said, I know that too. He did not say don't teach him. He had stopped saying don't teach him when Theo became family node on the operational map, separate from war map, not separate from war cost. Sunday week 33 closed with Academy reaction, still translating board victory into safer stories and Crane response, still translating defeat into adjacent jurisdiction pressure. Nova stood at dormitory window with recognition letter copy in hand and watched rain erase the courtyard chalk marks second-year students had left from practical review. Recognition was real. Rank 6 was public. The map had grown to 85 nodes and the pipeline was still active and Len had left without comment and Vethan had not appeared and both facts meant the same thing. Quiet time was ending whether they were ready or not. She wrote in the notebook at midnight, week 33. Public rank 6 via board 4-2 vote. Len lost round, observer exit without comment. Vethan absent, archive T via liaison. Academy reaction tripartite, destabilizing fear, legitimacy relief, annex truth. More than post-recognition safety review request, 48-hour pipeline. Head file category unsettled. Nodes 85. Theo visit 3 days. Garden window second night. Crane response institutional not personal. Pipeline active. Recognition is standing not safety. She closed notebook and listened to rain on the slate roof. thinking about structured light-filling board chamber and Cipher ink reading 6 mana signatures, and the vote landing like a door opening onto a corridor that had always been there, but now had witnesses. The corridor ahead would not be quiet. She had known that before the vote, and knowing it after did not change the work, only the urgency grammar. Urgency routed into map growth and answer trees and Theo visit bounds, and the alliance that had held through demonstration day, without anyone performing warmth they did not mean. That was enough for 1 week. The next week would demand more. Theo visit belonged to the second night. First night was arrival and supervised session, and the ordinary performance of a 14-year-old boy who had placed first in regional competition and needed to look grateful in rooms where gratitude was audited. Nova met him at East Gate with Rian's ward upgrade visible on his satchel and Theo's eyes doing the thing they had done since childhood, cataloging everything before greeting anything. He said, "You look tired." She said, "Board weeks are tiring." He said, "Dad said you won." She said, "The board recognized Cipher notation under historical equivalency." He said, "That's winning." She said, "That's standing." He looked at her with the assessing expression of someone who had inherited their mother's appetite for precision and their father's patience for institutional vocabulary. He said, "Standing is what you say when winning makes you more visible." She almost smiled. Almost. Garden session waited for midnight. Midnight belonged to wall and stone and notation that did not perform for clerks. Theo brought his new array to the garden on the second night without asking permission because permission was already in the visit bounds, and bounds were the only honesty the family could afford inside academy walls. The array was original. Not textbook derivative. Not competition template with Cipher dressing. A system built to detect unauthorized reading of personal correspondence, emergent branch structure, density normalization preamble, conditional phrasing that did not fight itself. Nova examined it on the garden wall with moonlight doing half the illumination work and Cipher ink doing none, because this was teaching, not war. She said, "Where did the branch fault come from?" Theo said, "I built it wrong first. Then I built the fix." She said, "Show me the wrong version." He showed her. The wrong version was instructive. The wrong version was how real notation grew. They worked for 2 hours. 2 hours was not everything. 2 hours was enough for Theo to understand that Cipher grammar was not archaic curiosity. It was operational language for problems approved framework solved by pretending they did not exist. He said, "Mom used this." Not question. Statement arriving at its own pace. Nova said, "Yes." He said, "Dad doesn't know how much." She said, "Dad knows enough." He nodded. He always nodded when he decided he had received sufficient truth for the current session. He said, "Will you teach me more?" She said, "Within bounds." He said, "I know about bounds." He was 14 and had survived 2 households worth of compression and still built original arrays in a garden at midnight. Mom made 2 of them and none of them had known it until now. Nova filed the thought without letting it soften her face. Softness was performance. Precision was love in the grammar they shared. She walked him back to guest residence before first bell with garden soil on his cuffs and nothing documented in any clerk file because Wall and Knight and sister were the only witnesses. Wednesday belonged to node batchwork. 86 through 88 confirmed between dawn reads and maintenance cover daylight windows, infirmary rear foundation, scholars residence east pin, lecture hall sub-basement panel adjacent to node 77's earlier verification. 88 of 147. 59 remaining on academy grounds and extrapolation. 59 was still war. War conducted in margins while public rank 6 made margins narrower. Thursday brought lens compliance follow-up, not new request, expanded interpretation of existing archivist secondary review authority now that 7C recognition had created curriculum integration jurisdiction overlap. Expanded interpretation meant mentorship logs. Expanded interpretation meant demonstration artifact custody. Expanded interpretation meant implied access to auxiliary instruction materials used in private tutoring contexts. Torrens spent 6 hours drafting jurisdictional response that cited board vote supremacy and charter clause hierarchy and the specific language preventing compliance seizure of materials under active advancement review without board authorization. 6 hours of prose fighting. Nova spent 6 hours in Library Corel with operational map copies distributed across 3 Cipher folds, daily inscription lock on primary, secondary distributed to Torin's office safe, tertiary in Caden's room inside forge-lined case he had built without announcing he had built it. Distributed was new security grammar. Distributed was response to recognition, making single-point storage suicidal. Thursday night, she was in Library Corel past third bell because Node 89 verification required Archive Annex subfloor access during reduced observer patrol window and the verification ran long. Archive Annex subfloor was cold. Archive Annex subfloor smelled like old paper and foundation stone and the particular silence of places where institutions stored things they did not want found casually. She finished Node 89 at midnight. She logged coordinates in memory first, paper second, Cipher fold third. She walked back to 7th floor dormitory through rain with hood up and ward line on satchel humming the upgraded grammarian had paid for. Her room door was closed. Her room door was always closed. Tonight the ward on the door frame felt different. Not breached. Disturbed. Disturbed was professional grammar. Disturbed meant someone had known how to touch a student ward without triggering Academy security alert, someone with authority or someone with training that implied authority's delegation. Nova stopped in the corridor. She did not open the door immediately. She read the disturbance pattern the way she read inscription faults, not looking for drama, looking for methodology. Methodology was careful. Methodology was not student vandalism. Methodology was not more than operative smash and grab. Methodology was inventory work conducted by people who expected to be unobserved and wanted to leave the room looking untouched except for what they chose to remove. She opened the door. The room was neat. Too neat. Chair aligned with desk edge at angle she did not use. Bed cover smoothed with institutional precision. Drawer left slightly open, not ransacked, staged open, the kind of detail that said we were here and we are not ashamed you will know. Her daily inscription fold sat on the desk where she always left it. Cipher lock intact. Ink still wet along the seam from morning right. Daily fold was safe. Daily fold was the practice she had started after Manor attack, new cipher every dawn, proof excerpt and critical annotations inside. Lock key to that day's notation grammar so yesterday's key could not open today's fold and tomorrow's thief could not use seized materials to read prior days. Thief had not touched the fold. Thief had known which materials mattered and which were decoy. Thief had taken paper copies from the secondary storage she kept in desk false bottom, not the fold, not the vault channel, not the distributed alliance copies. Taken, copied restricted section catalog, section headings, access notation, cross-reference indices she had transcribed from memory after restricted visits. Taken, mapped anchor node locations, paper overlay with 89 confirmed pins and extrapolation markers. The working copy she refreshed weekly for operational sessions. Not taken, Cipher notebook. Not taken, recognition letter file. Not taken, Theo's array diagram. Not taken, anything that would look obviously stolen to a casual dormitory inspection. Professional. Careful. Authorized by someone who understood Academy dormitory jurisdiction and student privacy statutes and the precise gap between what security would log and what compliance could seize under post-recognition safety review grammar. Nova stood in the center of her room and felt the quiet time and not as explosion but as door closing. They knew she had found the nodes. They had known before tonight. Tonight was confirmation that the knowledge had moved from suspicion to operational response. She did not pack in panic. Panic was management habit. She verified fold integrity. She verified false bottom empty. She verified ward disturbance log, subtle, reversible, no alert triggered. She photographed nothing because photography did not exist. She memorized everything because memory was the backup system that could not be seized in a desk drawer. Then she went to find Caden and Torin. Caden's room was 2 corridors east. Light under door. She knocked once. He opened without sleep in his face. He had been awake. He had been reviewing metal sleeve ledger. Operational pair grammar meant sleep was negotiable when map windows demanded. She said, my dormitory was searched. He went still. He said, when? She said, tonight. I was in library. He said, what's missing? She said, restricted section catalog copy. Anchor node map overlay. Paper only. Daily fold untouched. His jaw tightened. Not surprise. Confirmation. He said, ward. She said, disturbed, not breached. Professional. He said, compliance safety review. She said, maybe. Maybe archive liaison. I don't know who authorized. He said, they know you've found the nodes. Torin arrived 12 minutes later in boots and office coat with Pren behind him carrying tea neither of them would drink. Torin had been notified by Corridor Runner because Nova had sent Cipher note through Pren's relay channel on the walk from dormitory to Caden's room. Relay channel was new security grammar too. Torin read the disturbance description without interrupting. He looked at the empty space on Caden's desk where she had spread copied coordinates from memory. 89 nodes rebuilt in 10 minutes from the operational pair's shared ledger because distributed storage was not theoretical anymore. Torin said, we're out of quiet time. Nova said, I know. We need rank 7. The room held the sentence the way foundation stone held inscription, load-bearing, not decorative. Rank 7 was not aspiration. Rank 7 was minimum threshold for the fault space work the enemy protocol would require before activation timeline surfaced. Rank 6 had one standing. Rank 7 would win capability. Torin said, distributed copies survive this. Nova said, Caden has metal sleeve ledger. You have chronology overlay. I have memory and fold. They took the working copy because they wanted us to know they could take it. Caden said, message theft. Nova said, yes. Pren said, should I move relay burst? Torin said, yes. New channel. Tonight. Pren left. Caden said, Theo. Nova said, Theo is in guest residence. Ward upgraded. He's not on the map they took unless they link family teaching to operational inference. Torin said, Len will try. Nova said, let him try. Garden session is bounded and witnessed by Wall. Torin did not argue. He looked at her with the expression of a man who had spent 20 years investigating removed references and had just watched removal come to a student's dormitory door. He said, Rank 7 path requires board advancement petition separate from 7C recognition. Recognition granted notation legitimacy. Advancement grants rank authority. Nova said timeline. Torin said compressed. They compressed it for us by searching your room. Caden said, more than will escalate physical next. Nova said, not immediately. They took paper. They want us afraid before they want us hurt. Caden said, I'm not afraid. She looked at him. He said, I'm angry. Different channel. Angry was alliance grammar when trust was still being tested and operational commitment was not. She said, good. Channel it into Windows. He said, already doing. Torin said, we rebuild map overlay by dawn from distributed sources. We rotate dormitory storage to null. You sleep in Annex Corral tonight under my office ward. Nova said, head. Torin said, head will file Annex sleep regardless. Filed is not seized. Filed was the new cost of continuing. She gathered nothing from dormitory except daily fold and Cipher notebook and the clothes on her back. Gathering less was security grammar. Gathering less was also admission that 7th floor dormitory was no longer a safe node in the network. Dawn found them in library with 3 desks pushed together without permission, map overlay rebuilt to 89 pins, restricted catalog headings reconstructed from memory with gaps flagged for re-verification. Security protocol revision drafted in Torin's hand and Caden's marginal threat notes. Nova wrote in the notebook at first light, night after board recognition week. Dormitory searched professional careful while library corral, node 89 verification. Daily inscription fold cipher locked safe. Taken. Restricted section catalog copy, anchor node map overlay paper. Authorizer unknown. Told Caden Torin. They know nodes found. Quiet time ended. Rank 7 required. Distributed storage validated. Dormitory node abandoned. She closed notebook and watched Torin annotate rebuilt overlay with building chronology corrections. Thinking about chair aligned with institutional precision and drawers staged open and the particular care of thieves who wanted their victims to understand the theft was a message. Messages were received. Responses would follow. Rank 7 was not the only response, but it was the load-bearing one. Everything else organized around the gap between rank 6 standing and rank 7 capability, and the gap was where Crane's pipeline would aim next. Nova aimed back. Rebuilding was not recovery. Recovery implied something had been broken that could return to prior shape. Rebuilding implied prior shape was compromised, and the new shape had to account for the compromise. Nova woke in Annex Corel under Torren's office ward with 89 nodes in memory and 0 nodes in 7th floor dormitory, and the specific clarity of someone who had stopped managing the crisis and started fighting it in every channel simultaneously. Fighting was Tuesday. Fighting was also Wednesday through Sunday with no days off, because quiet time had ended and the pipeline had demonstrated it could enter her room without breaking wards loud enough for security to care. Operational security changes began with storage nullification. Dormitory room formally occupied for appearance. Bed made. Desk staged with decoy materials. Daily fold replaced with empty cipher shell that would tell any repeat searcher she had adapted. Real materials distributed. Proof excerpt in vault channel unchanged. Operational map segments split across Torren safe. Caden forge case. Syrah's registry overlay copy. Pren's relay burst fragments with coordinates encoded as failure mode notation. Encoded failure modes were Pren's contribution to security grammar. Pren said, if they seize my logs, they'll find failure modes. Nova said, will they find coordinates? Pren said, only if they know failure mode 11 is geographic. She said, good. He looked pleased in the restrained way scholarship students looked pleased when useful work was recognized without ceremony. Operational security changes continued with movement windows. No solo dormitory return after dusk. No repeated Corel hours, rotation across Annex, Library East Wing, garden maintenance shed. Torren had keys for through historical building authority no one had revoked. No paper overlay refreshed in single location. Caden metal sleeve ledger became primary physical record, updated only in paired sessions with Witness. Witness was not paranoia. Witness was standing calculus applied to survival. Rank 7 path required board advancement petition distinct from 7C recognition. Torren explained this in office hour block with charter appendix open and tea gone cold. 7C granted cipher notation legitimacy within approved curriculum framework. Advancement petition granted rank elevation based on demonstrated capability exceeding current public standing. Nova's public standing was rank 6 as of board vote. Her private capability remained uneven. Rank 6 demonstration proven. Rank 7 fault space work not yet attempted in conditions that would satisfy board examiners without giving Crane's pipeline a preview of zero-day methodology. Torren said, they'll want a demonstration. Nova said, they'll want a demonstration they can file. Torren said, yes. Caden said, filed demonstration is leaked demonstration. Torren said, hence the petition strategy problem. Strategy problem was the week's central engineering challenge, how to pursue rank 7 without teaching Len what rank 7 would look like when applied to enemy protocol fault space. Nova said, historical equivalency created precedent for public demonstration. Advancement can cite precedent while limiting observer scope. Syrah said, Len will be observer. She had arrived without announcement, Syrah's habit when political intelligence was the payload. Syrah said, he's filed formal observer request for all rank advancement proceedings involving 7C notation holders. Request granted this morning. Nova said, of course. Syrah said, Crown Prince Aaron's office sent separate inquiry. Room temperature shifted. Aaron was not Aldous. Aaron was the brother who read evidence and asked questions that did not perform charm. Syrah said, inquiry is neutral. Academy post-recognition safety reviews. Dormitory search incident logged without authorizer identification. Aaron wants to know if Crown should be concerned about student privacy breach. Torren said, what did you tell them? Syrah said that a student privacy breach occurred and authorizer is unknown and board recognition created jurisdiction turbulence. Truth without map. Truth without map was ally grammar at its most precise. Nova said, will Aaron press? Syrah said, he presses quietly. That's more durable than pressing loudly. More than pressing loudly arrived Friday. Administrative notice requiring Lady Vane attend supplementary compliance interview regarding auxiliary notation instruction boundaries and post-recognition demonstration artifact custody. Interview scheduled Monday. Monday was also Theo departure day. Theo departure was clean, boy with soil on cuffs from garden and new array in satchel and no knowledge of dormitory search because family node was protected from operational compression when protection was possible. Nova walked him to East Gate with Rian's carriage waiting. Theo said, "You'll teach me more." She said, "When bounds allow." He said, "When war allows." She looked at him. He said, "I'm not stupid." She said, "I know." He hugged her briefly, awkward, sincere, 14, and climbed into carriage. Rian watched from window without waving. Rian fought compression on family front. Rian did not need to wave to communicate stay alive. Node batch work continued through rebuilding week because map growth did not pause for violation response. 91 nodes by Thursday. 91 confirmed across Academy grounds with Southern Cluster extrapolation thickening on Caden's metal reads, more than territory bridge inscriptions flagged as high-density host region requiring travel permission they still did not have. 91 of 147. 56 remaining. 56 was runway measured in weeks not months. Rank 7 path narrowed to 2 viable demonstration frameworks Torin identified from historical advancement records. Framework 1. Emergent inscription under stress, combat, or crisis conditions demonstrating adaptive capability. Framework 2. Structural analysis inscription, real-time fault identification in approved framework work without counter-trigger deployment. Framework 1 leaked too much. Framework 1 was manner attack grammar, and they could not invite manner attack for board audience. Framework 2 was zero-day methodology wearing academic costume. Nova said, fault identification without trigger. Torin said, board examiner's present fault inscription. You identify fault space. You do not write counter. Demonstration stops at analysis. Caden said, Len will call it destabilizing analysis. Torin said, Len can call it what he wants if 4 board members see rank 7 capability in analysis grammar. 4 was the vote margin that had granted recognition. 4 was not guaranteed for advancement. 4 was the minimum coalition they had to hold. Nova spent weekend in garden maintenance shed practicing analysis demonstrations on approved framework samples Torin provided, defensive sequence from curriculum, certification array from audit materials, lecture hall foundation inscription fragment copied under maintenance legitimacy. Analysis without trigger was harder than analysis with trigger. Analysis without trigger required holding capability at threshold without releasing it. Holding at threshold was discipline she had learned in first life doing penetration work. Map the fault, document the fault, do not exploit the fault until authorization and conditions aligned. Authorization was rank 7. Conditions were enemy protocol timeline unknown. Sunday compliance interview prep merged with advancement petition draft. Petition language. Request board convene rank advancement review based on demonstrated structural analysis capability exceeding rank 6 standing, with observer scope limited to board members and co-signer per charter. Len's observer request would fight scope limitation. Fight was expected. Nova wrote advancement petition in plain formal with Torin cross-referencing every clause against Len's probable procedural objections. Objection 1. Advancement proceeding cannot limit archive observer without board vote. Answer. 7C recognition preceding established observer scope precedent. Objection 2. Structural analysis of approved framework constitutes destabilizing methodology. Answer. Analysis without counter-trigger is scholarship, not exploitation per Faculty Council ruling 19 years prior. Objection 3. Student dormitory search indicates ongoing compliance concern. Answer. Compliance concern does not suspend advancement rights without formal finding. Formal finding was the gap Len would try to close. Closing the gap required Aaron's quiet pressure or Torin's jurisdictional prose or both. Both were in motion. Nova wrote in the notebook at midnight, Week 34 rebuilding. Dormitory node nullified. Distributed storage operational. Map 91 nodes. Rank 7 path structural analysis demonstration, advancement petition drafting, observer scope fight. More than compliance interview Monday. Len observer granted. Aaron inquiry via Sarah, privacy breach truth without map. Theo departed clean. Security grammar rotated, movement windows, paired updates, encoded relay. Quiet time ended. Fighting is every channel. She closed notebook and listened to rain on shed roof, thinking about analysis held at threshold and the difference between knowing a system's faults and triggering them. Rank 7 was the rank at which knowing became sufficient for the next phase. She was not there yet. The petition would ask the board to say she was, and the board was not the only audience. Crane's pipeline would read petition filing the way search teams read desk drawers, for what it revealed about what she could do and when she planned to do it. Filing was necessary, and filing was also bait. They would set the hook carefully. Alliance consolidation was not a ceremony. It was the week when operational secrets stopped being distributed in careful increments and started being held in common by people who understood that common holding was the only firewall left after someone had opened Nova's desk drawer with professional care. Monday compliance interview was more than grammar dressed in academy administrative clothing. Nova attended with Torin as co-signer and Caden visible in antechamber and Sierra's registry channel feeding Aaron's office a parallel summary of proceedings without map coordinates. Interview questions circled auxiliary instruction boundaries. Had Lady Vane taught Cipher notation outside approved mentorship logs? Had garden sessions constituted unauthorized curriculum expansion? Had post-recognition demonstration artifacts been stored in compliance with board custody standards? Had dormitory materials included copies of archive-restricted reference indices? Last question landed like a blade placed on table without drawing. Nova said, I maintain scholarly research materials consistent with historical equivalency petition scope. Custody standards are being revised per board cosigner guidance. More than senior counsel said, revision following dormitory incident. Nova said, following privacy breach logged without authorizer identification. Yes. Counsel's pen paused. Aaron's quiet pressure had reached the interview room without Aaron in the room. Counsel shifted to demonstration artifact custody. Torin answered with charter language. Interview ended without finding. Without finding was not victory. Without finding was runway extended 48 hours until they tried again. Caden met her in corridor after. He said, they asked about restricted materials. She said, they knew before they asked. He said, Theo. She said, Theo is home. Theo is not on any paper they seized. He said, Len will link Garden to inference. She said, let him link. Garden was bounded. Wall witnessed. He did not argue. Alliance consolidation continued Tuesday with operational map session that included Sierra and Pren for the first time as full participants rather than partial channels. Full participation was risk. Risk was calculated. Sierra's political overlay had become load-bearing board member correspondence, more than registry inquiries, Aaron office temperature, Crown administrative routing that revealed which offices more than could access without formal authorization. Pren's failure mode encoding had become load-bearing relay fragments, coordinate obfuscation, documentation that looked like scholarship anxiety instead of war cartography. Lisa was not in the room. Lisa was not at Academy. Lisa was exercise 7 fix and rank 4 original work somewhere north of here, held in Nova's memory as the best news in 2 lifetimes and deliberately not entered on any paper overlay because Lisa's node was human not cartographic. Torin said, 7 names confirmed. Vaulted Circle membership. Crane identity bounded with Caden, Grand Archivist Veton Crane, Len Archivist Secondary as compliance face, Davin more than enforcement, for additional names from restricted section cross-reference and manner proof corroboration. 7 names on operational map. 7 names not yet public. 7 names sufficient for Alliance members to understand who they were fighting without requiring Nova to say grandfather in every room. Caden said, Tom. Torin said, Internal Security Specialist. Background since restricted visits. Not yet direct contact. Caden said, he'll be direct soon. Nova said, yes. She did not explain how she knew. She knew because pipelines escalated in predictable order. Institutional search, compliance interview, physical enforcement, internal security specialist. They were between second and third. More than pressure intensified Wednesday. Not operatives. Paper. Fifth registry inquiry from more than administrative office regarding Vane East Wing inscription modifications detected during routine provincial survey. Routine provincial survey was fiction. East Wing modifications were ward upgrades Rian had authorized after Manor attack. Inquiry requested access verification and student affiliation documentation linking academy research to Manor's structural changes. Linking was trap grammar. If Nova documented link, Mo then gained jurisdiction bridge between academy student and Vane Estate infrastructure. If Nova denied link, inquiry escalated to compliance finding for false registry response. Sierra said, House Loon can delay inquiry 48 hours through registry procedural objection. Nova said, do it. Sierra said, already filed. Ally grammar without warmth. Use without performance. Nova filed Sierra in the category of people who had stopped managing crisis alongside her and started holding pieces of it without requiring gratitude. Gratitude was management habit. Node batch pushed map to 93. 93 confirmed with Eastern Wing cluster completing and Northern extrapolation markers placed on facilities beyond Academy walls. Ashvale training grounds flagged by Lisa's channel through Commander Sila's indirect correspondence. Southern more than bridge cluster thickening on Caden metal reads. 93 of 147. 54 remaining. 54 included provincial travel they could not yet execute. Year 3 endgame setup arrived Thursday in the form of academy calendar compression, final examination scheduling, graduation ceremony logistics, faculty council vote on 7C curriculum integration timeline. Integration timeline fight was Len's new battlefield. If integration scheduled slowly, Cipher remained historically recognized but practically marginal. If integration scheduled quickly, Nova's notation entered curriculum before Len built counternarrative sufficient to contain it. Torin fought for accelerated integration on scholarship grounds. Len fought for delayed integration on stability grounds. Faculty Council scheduled vote for Week 36. Week 36 was also advancement petition filing target. 2 fights same week. Distributed fighting was firewall grammar Nova had learned in ARC's opening months and now applied without nostalgia. Nostalgia was dead grammar. Thursday night alliance dinner happened without being called dinner. Bread and annex. Tea no one drink. Map on 3 desks. Caden updating metal sleeve ledger. Torin annotating enemy protocol framework reconstruction. Theoretical structure rebuilt from Kira Vaneproof excerpt and Sever school text fragments Nova had memorized from restricted section before catalog copy was stolen. Enemy protocol framework on map was not activation timeline. Framework was architecture. Architecture was necessary before timeline could be read. Timeline remained critical unknown. Unknown was the weight at map bottom next to Nova's handwriting. Pren said, failure mode 12 if they seize my annex locker. Torin said, nothing in annex locker. Pren said, good. Sierra said, Aaron's office asked weatherboard should investigate dormitory search authorizer. Room stillness. Investigation was double-edged. Investigation could identify more than pipeline breach. Investigation could also expose operational map existence if investigation scope expanded wrong. Nova said, tell Aaron investigation should proceed on student privacy grounds only. No scope expansion to research materials without student council present. Sarah said, I'll phrase it as Vane position. Nova said, it is Vane position. Caden said, it's correct position. 3 words. Alliance consolidation in miniature. Friday more than pressure shifted from paper to presence. Administrative observer attached to certification audit roster, same title, different person, corridor pattern matching more than estate security training Nova had seen in Manor attack reports. Observer did not approach. Observer watched. Watching was pressure without filing. Caden rotated order drill windows to cover Nova's movement. Nova rotated movement without argument. Operational pair rhythm had become alliance rhythm, not warm, precise, load-bearing. Saturday advancement petition filed. Board acknowledgement within 4 hours. Review scheduled week 37. Observer scope fight included Len granted observer status, Torin formal objection logged, board chair ruling pending. Pending was runway. Runaway was also exposure. Sunday week 35 closed with 94 nodes confirmed and 7 names on membership list, and enemy protocol framework reconstruction advanced enough to identify 3 structural dependency assumptions that matched Cipher school suppression architecture. In Torin's cross-reference, 3 assumptions. 3 fault vectors not yet triggered. 3 vectors requiring rank 7 analysis capability minimum before zero-day methodology could be applied safely at scale. Rank 7 was not academic ambition. Rank 7 was detonation key grammar. Year 3 endgame setup meant understanding that graduation ceremony and examination schedule and faculty council integration vote were not background noise, they were terrain. Terrain Crane's pipeline would use. Terrain Alliance would use. Terrain favored prepared fighters. Nova wrote in the notebook at midnight, Week 35 Alliance consolidated. Compliance interview without finding more than council probed restricted materials. Full map session with Sierra Pren. 7 suppression network names confirmed. Nodes 94. More than 5th registry inquiry delayed via Loon. Observer presence shifted more than trained. Advancement petition filed week 37 review. Faculty council integration vote week 36. Enemy protocol framework reconstruction. 3 dependency assumptions identified. Activation timeline unknown. Year 3 endgame terrain mapped. Fighting distributed. She closed notebook and looked at map with 94 pins, thinking about alliance as firewall, not warmth, not trust completed, holding pattern sufficient to survive the next escalation. Escalation would come. Modan had shown observer face, Len had shown compliance face, Bethan had shown T-face, faces rotated, pipeline persisted. Year 3 was not ending quietly, it was ending like a door closing on one corridor and opening on another where rank 7 waited and timeline unknown pressed from map bottom, and the only honest response was to keep walking. She kept walking. Caden reviewed the operational map alone because alone was when you noticed what the room's noise had been covering. Nova had gone to Annex Corel rotation at 3rd bell. Torin had gone to faculty council prep. Pren had gone to failure mode documentation with the expression of someone who understood his logs were now load-bearing infrastructure. Sierra had gone to registry channels with the expression of someone who understood politics was combat with better stationary. Caden had the map. The map was not one sheet. The map was ledger plus overlay plus framework reconstruction plus membership list plus the blank space at bottom where timeline should be and was not. He spread it on his desk with Forge case opened beside it and metal stylus cold under his thumb. Forge work had taught him to read load before structure failed. The map's load was approaching threshold. Vaulted Circle membership. 7 confirmed names. Grand Archivist Vethan Crane at center. Outcome face. Architect grammar. T without fingerprints. Archivist secondary Len Crane at compliance perimeter. Procedural blade. Board observer. Dormitory search methodology that disturbed wards without triggering alerts. David Morthan at enforcement perimeter. Operatives at manor. Registry inquiries on East Wing. Administrative observer with estate security training in corridor patterns. For additional names from restricted section cross-reference and Kira vein-proof corroboration, names Nova had spoken once in full session and thereafter only by initial on paper because speaking names repeatedly was how pipelines learned which names hurt. 2 unnamed members flagged as probable from node distribution patterns. 2 unnamed members who would die in confrontations not yet scheduled if Torin's historical reading was correct. Caden did not wish death on unnamed mages. He wished operational clarity. Clarity was not morality. Clarity was what let you hold a blade in the correct direction when enforcement came. Anchor Network. 94 confirmed nodes on rebuilt overlay. 94 mapped from Academy grounds work and metal sleeve reads and Torin building chronology and the memory reconstruction sessions after physical copies were stolen from Nova's dormitory. Physical copies stolen. Map rebuilt. Rebuilding had taken 3 days and had proven distributed storage was not paranoia, it was the difference between setback and catastrophe. Estimated total, 147. 53 remaining. 53 included provincial clusters they could not reach without travel permission, and southern more than bridge density. Caden had been reading with increasing unease because forged metal components in bridge inscriptions used grammar he recognized from Academy. Foundation nodes. Same author family. Same installation era. Same assumption that infrastructure could carry load indefinitely without maintenance inspection by anyone who understood what was being carried. Enemy protocol framework reconstruction occupied the map's right margin. Torrens handwriting for historical cross-reference. Nova's Cipher shorthand for fault space annotations. Caden's forged notes on metal component vulnerabilities at node junctions. Framework was not complete. Framework was sufficient to see shape, suppression architecture designed to redirect inscription ability rather than destroy it, deployed through anchor network distributed across kingdom infrastructure, dependent on assumptions about practitioner grammar uniformity that Kira Vane's proof had already falsified. The system had a bug. Nova had written that at map bottom 3 weeks ago in plain text without decoration. The system has a bug. We are going to find it. Caden read the sentence again. Not inspiration. Operational thesis. Thesis he could evaluate because he had spent 18 months watching Nova build analysis capability from nothing visible to rank 6 demonstration to dormitory search response to advancement petition filed for rank 7 structural analysis. Thesis he could not fully trust because trust was a different channel from operational commitment, and he had committed operationally while trust remained unresolved. Critical unknown sat above Nova's thesis in blank space. Torren had labeled with question mark and the words activation timeline. When does Crane plan to activate? Not if. When. Framework reconstruction proved the protocol was real. Node map proved the network was largely installed. Dormitory search proved the pipeline knew Nova had found enough to matter. Compliance interviews and registry inquiries and observer rotation proved escalation was sequential, not chaotic. Sequential escalation implied planning. Planning implied timeline. Timeline unknown was the weight that made every other map element urgent. Caden traced southern more than cluster with stylus tip without ink. Bridge inscriptions. Road panels. Crossroads maintenance grammar. Nova had noted passing through more than territory in prior life memories this body's education had not included. More than territory was Davin's territory. Davin was enforcement. Enforcement protected installation. Installation served Crane's architecture. Architecture waited for activation. He set stylus down. His room was quiet. Night Scholar quarters on East Wing 3rd floor, smaller than Nova's abandoned 7th floor dormitory. Warded with order standard lines he had reinforced with forge inscription after dormitory search, because reinforcement was what he did when anger had no immediate target. Anger was still present. Anger was channeled into windows and witness placement and metal reads at dawn. Anger was not resolved. Resolution would require confrontation more than would provide eventually. Nova's annotation at map bottom was not the only handwriting that mattered. His marginal notes tracked metal component failure thresholds at 17 nodes where forged grammar suggested stress accumulation inconsistent with ordinary infrastructure maintenance. Stress accumulation was timeline grammar written in metal instead of dates. He could not read dates yet. He could read stress. Stress said not decades. Stress said not years maybe. Stress said soon enough. That rank 7 advancement petition in week 37 was not academic scheduling, but operational runway measured in weeks. Weeks were what remained of year 3. Weeks were what remained of quiet time already ended. Weeks were what separated standing from capability sufficient to find the bug Nova's thesis named. He thought about Nova in board chamber writing structured light that read 6 mana signatures. He thought about Nova in Manor East Wing writing counter-triggers at rank 5 speed with Cipher ink blazing purple-black through walls. He thought about Nova in garden maintenance shed holding analysis at threshold without releasing trigger because release would teach Len too much. He thought about Nova saying I know. We need rank 7. With the flat certainty of someone who had stopped managing and started fighting. He thought, I still do not know if I trust her. Trust required believing her confession channels were complete. Trust required believing the person who had been the villainess in the story's first draft had become someone else consistently enough that consistency was identity, not performance. Trust required forgetting manner attack survival techniques that should not have been possible for publicly rank 4 student. Trust required accepting that he did not know her entire first life and did not need to know it to hold the map with her. He thought, I don't think that's the right question anymore. Right question was not trust. Right question was whether operational commitment held when escalation arrived. Operational commitment had held through board demonstration. Operational commitment had held through dormitory search rebuild. Operational commitment had held through compliance interview antechamber and more than observer rotation and advancement petition filing without asking for order protection that would have reported upward to unsafe channels. Operational commitment was what he could verify. Trust was what he could not. Verification was enough to fold the map carefully and sleep. Sleep was operational necessity. Sleep was not surrender. Sleep was preparation for week 36 faculty council fight and week 37 advancement review and the next node batch and the next more than pressure and the moment Tom or operatives or Crane himself stopped translating and started confronting. Caden folded map along crease lines Nova had established, membership left, node center, framework right, thesis bottom. He placed folded map in forge case with metal sleeve ledger. He closed case. He extinguished lamp. He lay in darkness listening to East Wing corridor settle into night quiet that was not actually quiet, observer somewhere, ward lines humming, academy pretending it was still primarily an institution of learning rather than terrain. Terrain favored prepared fighters. Nova was prepared. Alliance was distributed. Map was rebuilt. Bug thesis was named. Timeline was unknown. Unknown would not stay unknown forever. Crane's pipeline would eventually reveal activation grammar through escalation or through mistake or through Torrens reconstruction, reaching the layer where notation became schedule. When unknown became known, rank 7 would need to be real, not petitioned. Petition was next week's fight. Real was the fight after. Caden slept. Not deeply. Night scholars slept ready. Ready was the posture year 3 endgame required. Ready was what the map demanded. Ready was what Nova's annotation demanded. Find the bug, not admire the bug, not file the bug, find it. He would be ready when finding required forge metal reads at dawn and witness placement at dusk, and the operational pair grammar that had become the only alliance he trusted without trusting entirely. That was enough. That was what the firewall pressure had built, not safety, not quiet time, not trust completed. Enough to continue. Morning would come with Node 95 window and faculty council prep and Nova in annex rotation with Cipher notebook and the war they had chosen to fight in rooms where witnesses mattered. He slept before morning. The map stayed folded in forge case beside his bed. The bug thesis stayed in his memory without asterisks or decoration. The system has a bug. We are going to find it. So they would.